In this lab, you granted and revoked Cloud IAM roles, first to a user, username 2, and then to a service account user. Having access to both users allowed you to see the results of the changes you made. You can stay for a lab walkthrough, but remember that GCP's user interface can change, so your environment might look slightly different. Welcome to the walkthrough of the Cloud IAM lab. In this lab, we have set up 2 users for you, and at this point, I have logged into the console as username 1. So Quick Labs will provide you with 2 usernames to log into, and we'll do some operations with both, but right now, I have already logged in as username 1. So the first instruction tells you to log into the console in another tab as username 2. So console, I'm going to grab that username. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to say add account, use username 2, and luckily we've been given the same password for both usernames. I'm going to log in here, and with Quick Labs you have new accounts, so it's always going to ask you for all of this new user acceptance. And I'll accept this terms, I'm good to go. So task 2 is to explore the IAM console. So I'm going to go to the username 1 tab. I'm going to go to IAM, and I'm going to click on there. If I hit add, I can look around at the different kinds of roles I can provide. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. Feel free to explore as much as you want. You can see here there are roles based on different products and services that we have. I'll hit cancel. I'm going to go to username 2, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to IAM. So I'm going to browse this list now, and I am going to look for the names associated with username 1, which in my case ends in 82462. I see it here, and here is username 2. You can see there are different roles associated with each one of them. Username 1 has App Engine Admin, BigQuery Admin, Editor, Owner, and Viewer, whereas username 2, which is the one that I'm logged in this tab, only has Viewer access. So now I'm going to move on to task 3. So I'm going to go back to username 1. There's going to be a lot of switching back and forth in this lab, so make sure you keep track of which tab is username 1 and which is username 2. I am going to go to Google Cloud Storage here, and I'm going to create a bucket in here. So buckets need to be globally unique. So I am going to use my Cloud Project ID because it is pretty unique. And I'm going to click Create and keep all the other defaults. And that will be, make sure to note the name of your bucket because we'll use it as your bucket name across the lab. So here I'm going to go to Upload Files. And let me find just any sample file here, just a screenshot. And I've uploaded it there. Once it's uploaded, I'm going to rename it here. And I'm going to call it sample.txt. The reason I'm doing this is because it's going to be much easier to run any of the commands I'm going to do with sample.txt as the name as opposed to that long name I already had. So at this point in the lab, you can hit the Check My Progress button inside the lab, and it'll give you a green check and 5 points if you correctly created a bucket and uploaded a sample file. So now I'm going to switch to username 2, and I'm going to go to Storage, Browser, and I'm going to verify that username 2 has view access to that bucket, and here it is. Because it's inherited that, I can view the sample file. Task 4 is I'm going to remove Project Viewer role for username 2. So in order to do that, I have to go back to username 1. I'm going to go back to IAM. And then I'm going to find username 2, which is this one right here, 73. I'm going to hit Edit. And then I am going to hit the garbage can so that I can remove it, hit save. And then at this point, I can also check my progress, and I'll get 5 points and a green check mark. And I should have 10 points out of 20 in the lab if I have properly done that. Throughout these labs, if you ever get to a point where you realize that you didn't get the points necessary, it's probably because you missed a step or two. Granted, sometimes the lab is actually broken because they're based on technology that changes a lot. But if the lab isn't broken, chances are you just missed a step. So I usually recommend go back 3 steps, check your work, make sure you did everything. And usually that's what happened. So now we're going to verify that the username 2 has lost access. So I'm going to go back to the username 2 bucket, tab, and then I'm going to click home. And then I'm going to go back to storage to verify. I could have just refreshed the screen as well. Refresh. And list of buckets could not be loaded. So as you can see, I do not have access anymore. So now the next task, task 5, is to add storage access. So I'm going to copy the value of username 2 from the Quick Labs lab name, from the connection details on the left of your lab instructions. So I'll copy that. I'm going to go back to username 1 tab, and I'm already in IAM. So I'm going to hit add. And then for new members, I'm going to paste the value here. That is it. And I am going to select storage. Scroll down. Luckily, it's alphabetical. And I am giving it storage object viewer. Then I'm going to hit save. This is another checkpoint in the lab where you can go back and hit check my progress, and you should get another 5 points that you have checked, that you have actually provided the right permissions. Now we have warned in the modules that sometimes the permissions upload faster than will be displayed in the GCP consoles. Sometimes you just have to be patient, maybe click check my progress, wait a couple seconds if you didn't get it, and then you'll get the 5 points and the green check. So the next piece of task 5 is to verify that username 2 now has storage access. So if I go back here and I'm going to start Cloud Shell because username 2 doesn't have project viewer roles, so it won't be able to see anything in the console, but we can see things in cloud storage, so we're going to use Cloud Shell for that. So let's make sure I know my bucket name. And I copied it earlier, but I have definitely forgotten it by now. So let me go back here to storage easily, and I can easily copy paste the bucket name here. Copy that. And back in Cloud Shell, I am going to do a gs util ls to list for that bucket gs:// my bucket name. And username 2 should be able to see that there's sample.txt in the bucket, and there it is. So now I can close username 2 tab because the rest of the lab is done in the username 1 console. So task 6 is to set up the service account user. So in IAM, I am going to go to service accounts. I'm going to create a service account, and the service account name is going to be read-bucket-objects. And I'm going to hit create. It's going to ask me which role to provide, and I am going to be giving it storage object viewer. Hit continue, and then I'm going to hit done. All right, so now we've created our service account, so we're going to go back to the main IAM page, and we are going to select the service account we just created, and we're going to hit add. And in order to add members, normally you could perform this activity for a specified user, group, or domain, but for training purposes and for this video, we're just going to grant the service account user role to everyone at a company called altostrat.com, which is a fake company used for demonstrating and training. So the new member is going to be altostrat.com, and I'm going to give it service accounts, service account user, and then I'm going to hit save. So now I'm going to go back to IAM, and I am going to add, and I am going to provide compute engine access. So the new member is altostrat.com. Make sure you're typing it correctly. I'm giving it compute engine. And compute instance admin v1 and save. So essentially that step is a rehearsal of activity that you would probably perform for a specific user. It gives the user limited abilities with a VM instance. It would be able to connect via SSH to a VM and perform possibly some administration tasks. So now I am going to create a VM with the service account I created. Hit create. I am going to use the same name provided in the lab, demo IAM. I'm using US Central 1. The zone is US Central 1C. And the machine type is an F1 micro. So it's just for demonstration purposes, so let's not waste resources. And the service account is the read bucket objects account. And I'm going to hit create. So this is another checkpoint in the lab, and you should be able to hit check my progress and verify that you have gotten the last 5 points in the lab. And again, this is another one that might take a couple seconds to propagate. So just give it a second and make sure that you get the green check and the final 5 points. Task 7, you explore the service account user role. And now you've already completed all of the tasks in the lab, so this is just for learning purposes. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to SSH into this account, into this VM that I just created. And then I am going to run a gcloud compute instances list. And I am expecting to see an error because I do not have the correct permissions to list those for my project. Just wait for that to show up. And there you can see error, some requests did not succeed because I don't have permission to do that. So now I'm going to try to copy the file from the bucket that I created earlier. So gsutils. My bucket name is the project ID, which I've forgotten already. Here, bucket /sample.txt. And you can see it successfully copied it. Now I'm going to copy it into another file. And then I'm going to try to upload into my bucket. Bucket name is here. And you'll see I can download, but I cannot add. And in review, in this lab, you granted and revoked Cloud IAM roles, first to a user and then to a service account user. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough. Thank you.